Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, we're going to just kind of have a little impromptu conversation about, well, alien origins, our origins, just some things that we've been getting bits and pieces of info from the guides, from the Galactics, the last day or two, and just wanting to kind of push them all together. And wow, I just realized I have these pictures still up.
Oh, cool. How most appropriate.
Well, let's start with this then, actually. So I saw this, and what I believe this is a something similar to a TR3B. When we were going to the grocery store, this was up in the sky, and I was just staring at it, taking pictures, and it didn't seem like anybody else saw it, which was weird. Because it was, as you could tell here, that's the light in the parking lot. It was kind of low on the horizon. Mm-hmm. It was miles away, but it was on the other side of a river. And, it just hit me that, okay, this is definitely a triangle. Mm-hmm. And it did seem like it had... I was wondering if it had some sort of cloaking on. I don't know, because nobody else seemed to notice it. But I did.
Well, it was gone right away, too. I mean, it was there, then it was gone. So all very strange. And I do think those things definitely have the cloaking technology that we're not aware of yet.
Absolutely. So interesting stuff. I just thought I would pull out these pictures to show you guys like 2 videos ago, and I keep forgetting to just show these. So I always see these, there's always these energy fields around it. It's definitely putting out a lot of energy. Some people say it puts out a lot of radiation.
That's what I've heard too. That seems dangerous. Is that the kind of stuff that's going to be allowed in the future?
Oh, yeah, we know.
They're gonna, huh?
Nothing ever matters as far as the health of the planet or ourselves. It's always all about other things, power and control and greed. So we do want to thank our Patreons. We couldn't do it without your support over at Patreon or at Ko-Fi. And Ko-Fi, you can also do monthly support just like Patreon.
Can I just say a huge thank you to Miss Susan Donahue? She's always so awesome. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. We appreciate you. And also check out Medicinal Foods. Use coupon code EEA. It gets a discount for you. It also supports the channel. Lots of stuff. We always have to be detoxing or boosting that immune system. So we're going to be talking about Pleiades and the Pleiadians and some other races as well. And the monkeys are playing in the background, just so you know. Pleiades is also known as the Seven Sisters star cluster. What's interesting is scientists will tell you that it's not likely there's any really intelligent life there because it's a new star system. It's a newer star system, what they tell us. It's a group of more than 800 stars located 410 light years away from Earth in the constellation of Taurus. Symbolized by the bull. Most skywatchers are familiar with the assembly, which looks something like a smaller, hazier version of the Big Dipper in the night sky. Now, these, they say, they are the brightest stars, well, some of the brightest stars in this formation glow hot blue and form within the last 100 million years. In stellar time, that's actually pretty quick. Not too long ago, they are extremely luminous and will burn out quickly with lifespans of only a few 100 million years, much shorter than billions of years that our sun will enjoy. This is, again, what they tell us. We don't trust them as far as we could toss them.
Right. And I do know a couple people who have, we've talked about nakshatras, and the nakshatra in Kritika comes from this constellation. I think that was really cool, and they're very much protectors.
Mm-hmm. Interesting as well. So some people will say, well, then, why are supposedly the Pleiadians way ahead of us as far as their development, their technology, and the like? And the reason is because they don't really originate from the Pleiades. That's the reason. Actually, humans originate from what we have gathered so far from Lyra. And Lyra, as you see here, is another constellation. The average distance is 652 light years. And it's the 52nd largest constellation in the sky. It's known as Lyra, or the Harp. It's an ancient constellation, dates back to Greek times, so they say, and associated with a gentle mortal Orpheus, who loved poetry and music. And there's a story there as well. One of the things that's fascinating is you might have heard of the star Vega. And Vega is a very bright star, but it's also known as one of the North Stars because the Earth's axis wobbles. The Earth's axis rotates similar to a spinning top. The period taken by the precession is approximately 26,000 years. Hence, the North Celestial Pole is not always pointing towards the same star field. It points in different directions. Hipparchus was the first scientist to discover the precession of the Earth, and he estimated that the precession of the Earth's axis is around 130 BC is when he came up with that. But the ancients knew this. While the period of precession being 26,000 years, the pole star located in the northern hemisphere is called Polaris. This is as of 3000 BC, which, coincidentally is about the timing of the beginning of the Kali Yuga. Isn't that curious as well? That's supposedly about the time, 3102 is when supposedly Krishna left and the Kali Yuga began. The North Celestial Pole coincides with the star called Thuban. It's another star. Now that one's in the constellation of Draco. Uh-oh. Yeah. And in 14,000, Vega in Lyra will be the North Pole Star. So we have basically 3 pole stars, and one of them is Vega, which is in Lyra. It's also interesting that you have one in the constellation of Draco, because Lyra and Draco, these were the big wars. Now, these wars created massive migrations of surviving humans out of Lyra and everywhere, and especially over towards the Pleiades. And, some humanoid beings, some chose to join with the reptilians, the Draco, the AI.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a choice. Just like we live here today, we have a choice of the surroundings we wish to create.
If you could see a Pleiadian with your third eye, so with your third eye, you could see things on different densities like they are on a similar density to you. And this is how Cindy will see sometimes Laurel, who is our contact with the Pleiades. Now, if you were to see Laurel with your visual eyes, she would just be light. Mm-hmm. That's all you would see. You wouldn't see what you're seeing here.
Right. And many times, and I've been seeing this a lot lately, are these light pillars that are in the sky. And people are just, they're just crystals, they're ice crystals. But no, these are actual beings. These are very valuable, important beings who are sending information out to other people, giving them upgrades, giving them messages, trying to speak to them. And even if you're someone who's just thinking, well, maybe I wonder if I'm getting messages, you are definitely getting messages from these light beings. They're here to bring upgrades. They're here to bring information and to just let you know that they're here, and there they are.
So if you were to see Pleiadians with your visual eye, this is more like what you would see.
Yes, that's absolutely what we would see, yeah.
Yeah, so this is what it looks like on 5th density. And so when we ascend and we go into the light body, this is what we're going to appear to look like to somebody that was in a 3rd density. We would no longer look like typical solid flesh and blood humans. Mm-hmm. And, there's good reason why, because again, it's a higher density. Very, very different. So, when you do see this representation, it's kind of like it's representing with the third eye when you're seeing things on an equal level playing field, so to speak. So we wanted to share a few things with you, part of which is the fact that humanity did have to, because of these wars, the Lyran-Draco wars, had to basically become migrants. And when we see migrants on the Earth, As above, so below. Isn't it always another group that's all of a sudden a migrant wave, fleeing war, fleeing, turmoil, earth changes, strife, plague, famine, you name it. This just seems to be part of the human history.
Unfortunately, yes, but I do believe things have gotten much better. They are getting better. We have new beings that are coming forward, that are making themselves known, that are talking to many more of us, giving us understanding and information to help make our lives better.
Barbara Brennan put out some classic books like Hands of Light and a few others, and she's somebody that was a therapist. She's an energy worker. She has her own system that she does. And she talks about at the core level, when you see this late in the heart center, that's the real us. That's the real soul. Again, the body is a vehicle. Some beings really enjoy a earthy, very, very dense physical existence. Now, when we talk about like the Anunnaki, for instance, they like fourth density and where they are. They actually are working. The Anunnaki are working on being able to hold third density longer and better because they are, let's just say, they're kind of hedonistic. So
Yeah, we have that going on too. Some people like that denser experience, I guess.
Yeah, and so they are basically denizens. Their home turf is the lower astral, lower 4D. But yeah, they would love to be able to hold form in an even denser existence where things are a little more intense. A little more intense. Then we have the Arcturians, beautiful beings, great masters of health, healing, genetics.
Yes, whenever we're working with these beings, these are what they like to impart is their healing ability, their healing knowledge. They will channel through certain people using their energies to help heal. So these beings are all about health, healing, love, growth, just very, very wonderful beings to be in contact with.
Absolutely. And these are very high vibrational beings.
Very high, yes.
Yes. And very, very scientific. There are the ones that Cindy always calls the blue beings, which have had a big impact on our planet as well.
And these beings, they're all about love, peace, joy, teaching people how to hold a higher vibration. I kind of like to call it the vibration of celebration or the vibration of joy. This is one of the higher vibes that we can be at, and this is what they touch other people with.
And we see the Om symbol in the background here, and this being is very reminiscent of Krishna playing on the flute. And we did get that these beings are the ones that have given us that knowledge. What we see in the Sanatana Dharma, what most would know as Hinduism, and the root of many other Eastern philosophies like Jainism and Buddhism spring forward out of Hinduism, out of the Sanatana Dharma, which is really knowledge that was given to us by these beings.
And that's really important, I think, to acknowledge the who's, what, where's, and why's of life is going to be found in that very much. So they wanted to impart this knowledge and understanding and put it in such a way that we could understand it and use it and help our souls grow.
And they're also the ones, I believe, that gave us the knowledge that there's, I think, around over 400,000 humanoid species in our galaxy alone. So, there is an abundance of life of all types. And there are mantids as well. They're all about healing. And I've seen some negative press saying that they work for the Draco and stuff, but we have one that's worked with us on some of the toughest healings that we've done on others and on ourselves too. And most definitely, this is my personal go-to person as far as healing. These beings are amazing healers.
Now, these guys are very, very scientific, usually like to work alone because they're deep thinkers. They like to contemplate, they like to figure things out, and they generally do. And the one that works on you, Mike, is, I always call him the surgeon because he's literally gone inside of you and fixed things.
Absolutely. And then we have the ones that are also found in Lyra, the Lyran system, and also known to be from Sirius as well. And this feline race is a very ancient one.
Very ancient.
Humanoid feline. Now,
Yes.
the humanoid shape is a common shape. It's just kind of a functional shape when you think of it. But when we look to all the species on Earth, you will find extremely intelligent versions of what we see on Earth reflected out there in the cosmos, that are just way ahead of us technologically and in their understanding of how the universe works.
That's when you look at cats and you look at dogs and you begin to have this understanding as your pineal gland starts to open up and you can see past the veil that they've put in front of us. You have an understanding that, wow, all of these species are out there in some kind of humanoid form, and they're very intelligent. They have their own wisdom and knowledge to impart. They have their own mechanisms to do things. They have their own speech. They have their own way about things. And this world is so large and they keep so much from us, but it is exciting because it's all coming out.
Absolutely. And when I think about your and I encounters with different beings, I gotta say that there must be at least 10 or 12 different races that we've come in contact with.
Mm-hmm. Very, very different. I mean, just today you were asking me, because one thing I have to do is I have to shut my third eye down so I can function. And you asked me, you're like, sweetie, is there somebody on the back porch? And when I opened it up and looked, sure enough, we had like this frog being. You just, where does that come from?
Well, I've woken up and seen one of these over me, and just as solid as can be, and not just myself, but both of my kids have had encounters with the little grays, going back throughout time. They keep an eye, and my dad never spoke much, really, about anything. He was the quietest individual I've ever encountered, and he was not somebody you would say is woo woo or out there or anything. And the one thing he said, he was really he was Catholic. But he said that he knew there were extraterrestrials. He said, I know. And he just would say, I've seen. And then he just left it at that.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like that. You don't find too often people actually talking about this openly because it's such a closed society still. And I think he was really torn between what he has seen and what he had learned as a child. So.
Well, he went through 12 years of Catholic school with the nuns whacking you on the anywhere with a ruler at any time.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to say something.
No. And then, of course, we have the Anunnaki. Now, the Anunnaki themselves were there basically at the Lyran Wars never stopped. That's the thing. We're still in a war. There still is a galactic war underway. Now, they are humanoid, and they did choose to go under the Draco and go on the Draco AI side.
Well, everyone has a choice, and these beings thought it would behoove them in their best interest to go ahead and go under that regime. So I guess you got to say we all create our own surroundings, and that's what they decided to do.
Absolutely. So, it makes me think of all the misdirections that we see. So we know about Project Bluebeam with, being able to make a fake alien invasion. The reality is at some point in time, we probably will see what looks like an alien invasion. Will it be fake? Well, it's in their plans that they do expect to come back in number to Earth. Now, if we could individually ascend out, we might not have to ever see them again. Mm-hmm. And if we could get the whole planet to change its consciousness and to reject all the instruments of this AI Borg, that's really the best word for it, then again, they won't have a reason to come back because we're not going to go down that path. Now, many humans probably will just embrace them wholeheartedly, unfortunately, but we do know the leadership of the planet's underneath the group that we would call the Ijiji, and I'll dig up a photo of that for you guys too, because probably the best representation of an Ijiji or what an Ijiji looks like is Palpatine from Star Wars.
Oh, that is so good. I mean, that's the best version, and that's the best visualization that you could give anyone, because they have the look, they have the feel, and they've encapsulated the energy of them too.
Absolutely. So again, the Ijiji were the ones that were working underneath the Anunnaki, and again, the Anunnaki. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that feels right, but I mean, they do use technology. Anunnaki again, fourth density, Ijiji, third density, just like what we have been. But the Ijiji, basically, when they came here, there was a good number of them originally, of the original ones. Now many of them have big skulls, and they either go back or they come out in like a wider skull, but their skulls are bigger than typical humans, and we could see some representations of it. The Pope's hat. We've talked about all this before. Yes, this one's very, very much. This is right on. That's why the Pope's hat's the way it is, so to speak. They did create a hybrid bloodline, and that's the leadership we have today. Many of our politicians are reincarnated Ijiji from the ancient times. And, you might look and you might see people that you're very, very familiar with, but recognize that the soul inside, or the spirit inside there, is actually one of these. And now we've gotten that of the original ones, there's that came here, the original Ijiji, there's only one left, and that one's on life support, but it's very powerful.
Well, the mind, it's this mind control that they have is more powerful than we can even fathom, but they definitely have it, and they put it to good use.
Exactly, yeah. So again, think about like the last Star Wars and how Palpatine, I think they were giving us a lot, because it very much is like that, and the technology out there to destroy whole planets is actually something that has been used in the past. So there's a whole bunch of different beings out there, and again, the Draco are directly over the Anunnaki, and then over the Draco is this artificial intelligence.
And a lot of people, I'm hearing more and more, a lot of other people are coming up with that information too. The same type of AI presence, AI dragon, AI black hole. It's just something that's really, we need to keep our distance from that stuff, because we're actually selling ourselves into it.
So this is not unlike what she was talking about being on the deck, the Nomo. And the Nomo also taught humanity many things. And perhaps they are the source of some of the merman legends here on Earth. Now, there are societies that are living under the sea. There are whole massive cities in the oceans, as well as in the inner Earth as well.
Right. We need to understand that we're surrounded by these beings. Just because we can only see each other in this space that we're in, that doesn't mean it's not taken up.
No, not at all. Now, what else did we want to share? What else did you want to share about, the migrants and the Lyran wars? The fact that it's still going on. It's going on in more than one density, and we were talking about this last night. Part of what they're doing right now is getting you ready. They're getting everybody ready to recognize that all our myths and legends are rooted in fact. There are, true beings very much like werewolves, for instance, dogmen. And then we also have beings that are very much like vampires, very much like all these quote-unquote mythological beings out there. And here many times we've looked to beings as gods, but they're not gods. They're just other beings they're not source and they're not the creator of this universe, but they're like us. They're just in different vehicles for the soul to utilize. Some, are in the same density as us. A whole bunch are in the density that we're about to step foot in. So we're going to see literally many myths and legends coming to life in front of our eyes.
We will, and we need to embrace our creative energy and keep that for ourselves, and understand when we're dealing with these Lyran wars and the ongoing wars that a lot of it we are freely giving our energy, because they are putting things in front of us that make us put us in a place where we're giving away our freedom. We're just handing it right over, and they're taking that life force, that life essence, and they're using it, and they're sending it back to whatever they need to run their Borg, call it what you will, but they are seeping energy from the human race by taking people's attention, taking people's focus, and it is being siphoned and funneled in that way, and that's going on today.
Yeah, we're literally trying to gather the life force and utilize the life force to keep their Borg collective going. That reminds me of the movie Mortal Kombat with the evil sorcerer Shang Tsung. He would defeat somebody and then he would take their soul, so to speak, and trap them to utilize their energy. Well, that's what the Borg collective does. It's all about utilizing the life spark from source, from God with the big G, taking advantage of that and fueling its empire, so to speak. So we are very much in a Star Wars type of situation that extends through more than two densities. This is something that is as above, so below. It's still going on. And we are about to step into a place where it's going to be right in front of our eyes, and they've said to Cindy, she's been haunted by that Nostradamus quatrain that it says that the gods will appear, that they are bringing a very terrible war. And when we look to, well, what are they trying to hint towards with Space Force, right? With the militarization of space, and of course they're going to say, well, the U.S. needs to beat China and Russia, right? U.S. NATO has to make sure that they could dominate China and Russia, but the reality is it's the Lyran-Draco wars that are coming to home, to roost, and that's what they're preparing for. And they're not on the side of most human life. They're not wearing white hats. They're on the dark side. Mm-hmm. They're actually trying to get us ready to basically fight for the dark side.
It's all very, very twisted. It's all very, very twisted. And if you find yourself giving your attention to any given subject, any given topic, and if you're really sucked in and you can't pull yourself away from that thing, please consider that you could be giving your life force away.
Absolutely. And I asked Cindy, I said, what do you feel if we ask the creator of the universe, asking through the guides and their information, what does the creator of the universe truly want for us, for any beings in its universe?
Our sovereignty to use our creative energy for ourselves to create what we wish, instead of it being harvested and used for other purposes.
Absolutely. So think carefully about the words that you've been taught all the time, and see, are you giving your sovereignty away? Are you making somebody else's wishes your own just because you've been taught that? And what really are those wishes when you get down to that? If it's not based in pure love and compassion and seeing the underlying oneness of all things, it's probably of the AI Draco reptilian side.
Yeah, it's probably a little manipulative.
And by the way, there's not all reptilian beings that are bad.
Right.
And we were discovering more about that there are some reptilian beings that want to return to the oneness and want to return to source, and so are trying to truly help humanity. So how do you know? Well, you can't know just by trying to figure it out with your left brain. the key is developing your own perception abilities. You have to open up and unlock the abilities of the third eye so you could truly see. If thine eye be single and filled with white light, then your eye is going to be true, and you will know. You will know. You won't be able to be deceived. As long as you're just simply going on what somebody else wrote down as their experience, whether they experienced it or not, you don't really know. You're just trusting. And this is what we were talking about with Robert Anton Wilson. He said he's not going to believe in anything. The stuff he knows. But he's not going to believe in anything. Because when you're believing, you're going on what somebody else is telling you. You have to know. That's the only way. And so that takes a totally different level of perceptive abilities, which are going to be readily available and are readily available right now if we just do the work.
Right. They just keep us really busy in this life, being traumatized and busy at work, busy at home, busy. So we can't sit and get quiet and develop this, because it does take a large measure of it is all about healing the trauma, whether it be as a child or even lineage, ancestry. It's that finding that healing and then finding that peace, and that's where these energies can develop in a safe place.
Absolutely. So keep putting your positive intentions out there. Have a regular spiritual practice that can be absolutely unique because you're a unique individual. But again, things like meditation, Qigong, mantras, especially mantras I feel in Sanskrit and in some other languages, are very powerful. Such powerful tools. And they could connect us and get us past 4D to 5 and 6D, where the beings that you encounter there are very benevolent and just want to help.
Yes, they do.
And they operate out of the understanding of oneness and love and light. As always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.